Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. This channel is dedicated to finding out whether I really do know it all or not. Make sure you like and subscribe, and especially make sure you ask questions in the comments or at my email address, which is at the end of the video, so you have to watch the video to see the email address. Anyway, without further ado, let's find out what my wife found me for the question for today. Drum roll, please. All right. Okay. All right, the question for the day is, what is climate change angst? Okay, I think I got this. It's actually kind of in the title of the thing, but I'll go into a little more detail. So basically, I think climate change angst is the kind of low-level feeling of stress or unease or unhappiness that is going on in the population at large. Certainly individuals also, but I mean, I think lots and lots of individuals are feeling kind of a consistent stress about the fact that climate change is happening, and there's a very real and very realistic and understandable concern about the future of not just individuals, us, but the entire species as a whole, and also lots and lots of other species too, right? We see about the coral die-offs, we hear about extinctions of animals constantly, and there's just lots and lots of things to worry about. So I think honestly that one of the reasons why there is climate change denial is because of this climate change angst. One answer to a problem that seems intractable, of course, is escapism. So, that would be something where it's like, well, I don't know what to do, so I'm going to go watch a movie or read a book or imagine everything's fine or something like that. So I think that a lot of the denial of climate change actually falls within the category of, oh crap, what are we going to do, right? This is a serious, serious problem, and it's easier to pretend like it doesn't exist than it is to confront it. I think that climate change angst is probably a term that's only a few years old. I will check in a few minutes and find out when approximately it was developed or came about or became a popular term. But I believe that it's an issue that has been growing, and with the growing scientific community certainty that there is serious climate change going on, and certainly with things like the UN Paris Accord, even governments are starting to realize that now. Whether there's willpower to do anything about it, I don't know. But, the obvious problem is that we as individuals have a very difficult time dealing with the fact that we're very powerless in this situation, right? This is a huge, huge issue. And so even if you as an individual, I watched Levi Hildebrand Saves the World. He's a good YouTube guy and a lot of fun. But, he deals with that problem of, like, even if you go completely off the grid, if you don't buy anything, if you're completely carbon neutral and so forth, there's still another 7 billion people out there that are going to be using resources and throwing carbon and other things up into the atmosphere. So the really big question becomes what to do about it, and that is an interesting issue. So first of all, before I go further, let me go check my my iPad today. I don't have my trusty laptop with me, so it'll take me just a little bit longer to check the answer, but anyway, I will be back in just a second. Interestingly enough, there's another term for it called eco-anxiety, which I think is also perhaps an even better term. I like it. It's just a little bit shorter, easier to remember. Greta Thunberg, right, is, Thunberg, I hope I'm saying that correctly. The Swedish 16-year-old, is a big, advocate for people knowing about climate change and about doing something. This NBC article, which I will link in the underneath in the description or someplace around here. Anyway, it talks about an interesting thing about like easing anxiety by taking action. So there's one thing you can do. That's the problem, of course, is that you feel like your action is not making any difference, but it obviously, if enough people are doing it, there is a difference that's being made. Become a climate change advocate, which means talking about the issue and not just hiding from it, connecting with other people about it, staying positive and focused on progress rather than focusing on the negative. So there are some general discussions of what to do about the fact that you feel powerless in face of this, impending disaster. And there's no question that we are heading that direction. There is a lot of bad stuff happening, and obviously more and more of us need to be trying to do the best we can. Certainly, as a person who lives in a developed country, I'm more guilty than a lot of other people in the world, because I certainly use a lot of resources. And in fact, I'm using resources now just to record this, and I'll be using resources to upload this and edit it, and you'll be using resources to watch it. So all of that comes at a cost. So the question is, what sort of things can you do to help it out? And certainly some of the things would be to reduce waste, even in terms of food and so forth. I guess in the United States, we waste about a third of the food that we purchase. It's just kind of an outrageous amount of food that gets tossed. And, purchasing food in a more careful manner, and also probably composting the excess. Certainly recycling is an obvious thing. That's a very complicated and fraught issue nowadays because it's not being dealt with on the back end so much. Finally, I think consumers are getting used to the fact that you put your stuff in the recycling bin or the recycling trash can or something, and you bring it out to the corner and somebody takes it away, and that's all great. But the problem is that we don't have a good enough infrastructure around it, especially since China has backed out of taking most of the world's recycling and doing something with it. So those are issues, but I think with enough pressure and enough advocacy from the grassroots, that there will be people who will take up the slack. It's just unfortunately going to take some time. And of course, the big thing is becoming as carbon neutral as possible. That is a serious and very difficult issue to deal with. That is something every time you turn on a light or get in a car and drive, even if you're driving an electric car, which is substantially better for the environment than driving a gas-powered car, you're still dealing with the fact that you're harming the environment. You're releasing carbon into the atmosphere. There's really even renewable resources which would be great, except that they're very difficult to use as a baseline for power consumption. Actually, somebody should ask a question about that. What is a baseline load, and how are renewables in energy renewables being dealt with in terms of that? So there's just a lot of problems with that, and I know I sound like I'm kind of going around in circles and rambling a bit, but that is I don't know what else to say. It's something that certainly I feel a lot of climate change angst or eco-anxiety. I like that term. And I just think that we're in a situation where we have to really consider what we are going to do about it individually. And that, I think, will help to reduce that anxiety, right? If everybody decides that they're going to pitch in at least a little bit and also advocate for it and tell their government and industry institutions that they need to step it up and help out rather than becoming part of the problem, then we can hopefully solve this, right? You've got to stay positive. I have a huge amount of anxiety for my own children, because they, of course, I worry that they're going to grow up in a world that's going to be more unstable and less pleasant to live in. I guess that's a nice way to put it. But I think we could go a step further and say it's going to be very difficult for them, and certainly if not them, then their children. So my grandchildren will be in a situation that could be extremely fraught and very, very difficult. And, I really worry about that. Man, what a bummer of an answer. So sorry about that. Anyway, so yay, I'm happy I'm right. Maybe I should go like this. Maybe I should go. There we go. I'll just do like the negative. So I'm right, but I'm sad about being right. Do what you can about it. If you are worried about climate change, and I think you very well should be, then see what you can do about it on a small level. I mean, even to the extent of like walking or taking a bicycle instead of driving a small distance, or composting food, or just not buying as much food, or alternatively not buying as much stuff, right? This time of year, this is being recorded in December, and that's the Christmas season, and the Christmas season means the spending all your money season and buying stuff that people don't necessarily want. So Merry Christmas. It is something to think about. Maybe you should think about, I don't know, finding some dead wood in the yard and carving things and stuff or something like that, so you can go a little bit crazy. I don't know, I'm not that crazy. I'm not that granola of a person, but I definitely appreciate trying to do at least a few small things to try to help out the environment and make life a little bit better. All right. Anyway, goody, goody, goody. What a great answer. I hope you enjoyed this to some extent, or at least found it somewhat useful. Make sure you like and subscribe, and make sure you ask questions in the comments or ask them at DrKnowItAllKnows@gmail.com. And my wife will go and find the most interesting questions that she thinks for me, and she will ask them, and I will try to answer them right here. Till next time, thanks.